But Bill O'Reilly, well, in fact, I want to give you an introduction aside from the book and the politics we'll talk. Bill, good to have you always. What is your latest endeavor?
It's called Killing Crazy Horse.
No, that's the book.
The Merciless Indian Wars in America.
I'm going to happily...
Ninth killing book, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
And this is the most successful nonfiction book series of all time.
Wow. 17
million copies of my books in print.
Wow. Okay. That could be quite sufficient for a human being. But in terms of
I'm just
in terms of media,
amazed. I mean, the cliche is I'm humbled. I'm not really humbled because I really worked hard, Martin Dugard and I, on these books. But people really have a hunger to know the truth about America, and that's what we do.
And it's very accessible, which is critical. But anyway, my original question was, what are you doing media-wise? I want to help you get more viewers or listeners.
All right. Since the pandemic started in January, my company, BillO'Reilly.com, has gone from a $5 million corporation to a $25 million corporation. The reason is that people are not getting honest information from network or cable news. That's why. We are available on BillO'Reilly.com each evening. We do a 41-minute newscast called the No Spin News. That is now distributed throughout the world by the First TV. You can get it on Roku. You can get it on Amazon Prime. Dennis, I'm a Luddite. I don't know what any of these things are. Somebody said, "Hey, O'Reilly, I saw you on Roku." I said, "I haven't been to a Japanese restaurant in 6 months. You couldn't have seen me there." I don't know what they are. I don't know what. But I do know that millions of people are now watching us, and it's very gratifying. We work hard here to tell you the truth, not to spin it. We're not in business to promote a political party or any politician whatsoever. And that is resonating as it did when I was on Fox News.
All right, excellent. So before we get to the book, which I'm very interested, obviously, while you're on, among other reasons, so I'm not going to ask you for a prediction. I unless you have very strong feelings on it, I'm not. But I am going to ask you about the future in one sense. Do you foresee serious chaos in America after the election?
No. I know that is a hot topic on talk radio. We have a radio program as well. I took over the Paul Harvey franchise. We have 300 stations, and I get mail by the volumes. Oh, there's going to be a civil war. Oh, there's going to be riots. Oh, there's going to be this. Oh, this. I do not think that is going to happen. I think there will be a decisive victory on one side or the other. What the worst case scenario is that it isn't decisive. It's like Gore Bush. It comes down to these corrupt mail-in ballots that you can't count accurately. Nevada is going to be absolutely a state that's in abject chaos after the election. And that might ignite physical conflict. But at this point, Joe Biden is suspect because of his mental acuity. If you, Dennis, I don't know whether you saw him in Michigan talking about COVID in the military. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So last week he's in Michigan, and he gives a speech that he says hundreds of thousands of people in the media, in the military, I should say, have been afflicted by COVID. Hundreds of thousands. There aren't even hundreds of thousands in the military. 7 military people have perished from COVID. 7. So he's there, and he's reading off a teleprompter. He's not, it's not off the top of his head. And for 45 seconds, not one word that came out of his mouth was accurate or made any sense. He did not know what he was saying. So you and I make mistakes all the time. We're on the radio, we're professionals, and we're human beings. You stumble, you misstate, that happens. But we know what we're saying, I think. I mean, I've listened to you for years. You know what you're saying. And if you say something not the right way, you correct yourself. Joe Biden doesn't know what he's saying. So, in the first debate on the 29th of September, If that is demonstrable to the public, Trump will win. He'll win the presidency because people are not going to vote for an afflicted candidate. And at this point, Joe Biden could very well be afflicted. Look, I wrote a book called Killing Reagan. After Reagan was almost assassinated, his mental acuity declined drastically, and he couldn't do his job certain days. Now, that was kept from the public. The public did not know that in the 1980s. All right? And Reagan made a miraculous comeback. Miraculous is the word. Now, maybe Biden will do that. I don't know. But at this point, as an American, not as a commentator, I can't vote for Joe Biden. I can't possibly vote for him. I don't think he's in control of himself.
Wow. Well, it's funny. You asked me if I'd seen it. I didn't. I heard reports that he confused. Is it possible he confused M.I. Michigan, where he was, with M.I. military?
Yeah, it's possible. But even if that's true, look at the tape.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm just
saying. The numbers you're given
right.
are there. Those numbers don't even exist.
Right.
I mean, that's how bad it was.
So Scientific American...
If your child came in and said that to you, if he was over 6, you'd be concerned.
Right. That's a very good point. Scientific American said it's the first time in its 65-year history it's endorsing a candidate. Are you aware of that? You have any reactions?
Yes, of course. I'm aware of everything, Dennis. I'm like, I'm here. I
won't
know everything.
I won't ask that again. All right, fine. Yeah.
Let me put this into perspective for you. I wrote a book called The United States of Trump. We spoke about it when it came out. I understand why Americans in the millions despise Donald Trump, including those who work for Scientific American. But there's a difference between governance and personality. So this Woodward thing is really instructive. Talking about COVID, Trump uses on the tape with Woodward the phrase, "I played it down." You saw that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean, in his mind, what it means to Bob Woodward. They're talking past each other.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump says, I played it down because I didn't want panic, and I didn't want to tank the markets, because I didn't really know what the outcome was going to be. So I didn't push the panic button. That's Trump. In his mind, played it down means I didn't want panic. In Woodward's mind, and with all due respect to Bob, I've known for decades, just in order to sell books, he takes played it down as lying. That's what he takes it as. Trump doesn't even come close to that. So they talk past each other. And millions of Americans buy into the lying. So then Trump comes back on Monday at ABC's town hall and says, no, if anything, I overplayed it, the COVID. Because in his mind, stopping flights from China and Europe was heroic. And that he knew the virus was going to be pernicious and took action that other people wouldn't have taken, including Joe Biden, who was on the record as saying stopping flights from China was xenophobic. So you can see what Trump's thought process is, but it is totally rejected by the people who hate Trump. Now, Bob Woodward doesn't hate Trump. He just wants to sell 2 million books, and he can't write a favorable book about Donald Trump. You want an inside story? Do you have a time for an inside story about this?
Yep.
All right, so 2019, January, I'm on Air Force One, and I'm interviewing President Trump for The United States of Trump, my book. I've known him 30 years, as you know. After the interview's over, he looks at me and goes, Bob Woodward's writing a book on me. I went, uh-oh. I said, his first book hammered you. He goes, but this time I'm going to cooperate with Woodward. I looked at him and I said, are you insane?
Mm-hmm.
I can talk that way to the president because I've known him for so long. I said, there's no way that Bob Woodward, getting a $10 million advance from Simon & Schuster, is going to write your point of view. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just giving him more ammunition.
That's right. All right, hold it there. I want to remind everybody we're going to talk. I'm fascinated by the latest book of Bill O'Reilly, Killing Crazy Horse. We'll be back.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me ask you very quickly about Senator Harris. I think when she threw doubt on the vaccine, she did a terrible disservice to America. Everybody's got to be on the same page when a vaccine is approved, that people who are in risk groups take it. What were you shocked that she actually threw doubt? Because that's going to make it much more difficult to get people to become vaccinated.
It's very disappointing to see Senator Harris throw in with the anti-vaccine crowd. Look, the world's leading scientists and researchers are all racing to try to find a safe and effective vaccine for the coronavirus. And I am 100% confident that those world-class scientists and researchers, along with our public health agencies, will only put on the market a vaccine that is safe and effective.
Have you talked to Senator Harris yet about throwing in with the anti-vaxxers?
I've not been on her short call list over these last couple of days, Hugh, if you can imagine it, when she was up instead in Wisconsin, visiting a state that Democrats have generally stayed away from for the last 4 years, like Hillary Clinton did.
She will deny that she's thrown in with the anti-vaxxers, I'm sure, but I don't believe that's an inaccurate statement, Senator.
Well, it's not an inaccurate statement at all, Hugh. I mean, she has expressed doubt and skepticism about a vaccine that doesn't yet exist. And we don't know when it might exist, but when it does exist, it will be safe and effective because it will have gone through rigorous testing and trials.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Then people know you from every now and again. I see you on these TV commercials. Are you still doing those?
Absolutely.
You crack me up. But we both involved in a film called Trump 2024. It's really a documentary, and there's all kinds of people involved in it. I should say to folks, if you go to salemnow.com and use the code Eric, you get a discount, salemnow.com. But why did you get involved in this documentary, Mike Lindell, Trump 2024?
Well, when I first met him, I met him in the summer of 2016 in a private half-hour meeting. He invited me out to talk with him about, my pillow being made in the USA. But all these things he talked about, I'm going, there are a couple of things people need to know about our president. The gift he has of being so pragmatic and problem solution like a businessman, but knowing what it's going to manifest to. What is it, just because you solve the problem and have the solution, you better know what's it going to manifest to in our daily lives. And that's a gift that he has. And that's having a businessman run it. He took the Republican Party, and I believe now has turned it into the common sense party. That's not the party it was either. He took politics and just put it all in a thing and smashed it around and said, okay, here's the way we should do things for the people. This is for the people.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
I know not to trust standard media outlets, but to whom am I supposed to turn? How do I know who to trust? Where can I go for real information?
Great question. Dr. Strom, who do you rely on for your information?
Okay, so what I really like, and I think it's pretty accurate, is the Johns Hopkins newsletter.
Right.
It comes out every 4 to 5 days. I think that information is very accurate. That's where I get most of my information from. Listening to television,
you're going to get skewed data. So that's what I said in my opening segment. I'm not so sure about the numbers. I don't know if the numbers they're telling us are too low or too high. I just don't know yet.
As well, in voting and encouraging people to do so, it's obviously, I believe America is on the line in this election. I don't ever engage in hyperbole. And these people at the Job Creators Network are using people in talk radio to further their campaign. It's called Keep America America, and it's at keepamericaamerica.com. There's a perfect example of something tangible that you can do with regard to this election. keepamericaamerica.com. Bill O'Reilly, one of the most, if not the most successful series of nonfiction books ever. The latest is Killing Crazy Horse. It is about some killing that has taken place, the series, killing Kennedy and so on. This one is the merciless Indian Wars in America. And I have every intention, I don't say this to every author I have on because it's not possible, of reading this book, which we're going to get to in a moment. I must tell you, Bill, it struck me as, and I am a big supporter of the president, but it struck me as imbecilic to have given all these interviews to Bob Woodward, just as you said to the president.
Yeah, but he is the guy who thinks he can convince people.
That's right, exactly. Exactly.
You know, but he does what he wants to do. There's a little more you can say because I know him so well, as I told you, and I've given him some advice when he's asked, only when he asks. I don't give him advice unsolicited. I gave Barack Obama advice when he asked. But Donald Trump, he basically is a solitary man, as Neil Diamond once said. And he's going to do what he wants to do. And if it hurts him, he doesn't seem to really care. He just keeps on pushing.
Right. His strength is his weakness. That's fine. And it works more to his favor than against him. Let's go to your book here, Killing Crazy Horse. This issue has always troubled me because it's so hard to get to the truth, which is why I think your book is doubly important, because it's so hard to get to the truth. So, after doing the research for the book, did your view of America's wars with the Indians change, or did it basically confirm what you had already believed?
Well, I didn't know anything, even though I'm a history grad and a high school history teacher. I didn't know about the Indian Wars because it's not taught in public schools because they're afraid to teach it because it's politically incorrect. So Martin Dugard and I researched, we found out the truth, and we printed it, 1813 to 1890, about the longest American war ever, 77 years. Heroes and villains all over the place, betrayals all over the place, horrendous violence. But it's not what you think it is. There were some very noble Indian nations and some horrible Indian nations, like the Comanches. I mean, those folks, even today, you say Comanches, northern Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, those heads come up. But Chief Joseph and people like that, Tecumseh, they wanted peace. They wanted the best for their people, but they were overwhelmed by the white migration west. That's how people got to California. You had to come across. And who was there? The Native Americans for hundreds of years. So the collision was inevitable. It wasn't anybody's fault. There were horrible things done. There were heroic things done. And we chronicle them all. So that when you're through reading Killing Crazy Horse, you will know how your country was forged. And you will be much better prepared to forge off the rank propaganda that you just talked about. The people who want to destroy every part of American history and American tradition. And they're gaining ground. And we need to fight those people with facts.
Do you address the charge of the smallpox spread?
We mentioned that the Indian immune systems were not able to fend off white diseases and that horrible people infected Indians on purpose to exterminate them. We addressed it. We don't get into it in great detail because it wasn't done that much. Basically, the Indian wars were set combat pieces between brilliant commanders like Crazy Horse and guys like George Custer. And, they couldn't defeat Crazy Horse. That's why Custer got sent out there by U.S. Grant. Crazy Horse won battle after battle after battle with the U.S. Army. Cochise was never defeated in Arizona. Not once. These were brilliant military minds. And nobody knows that because there was fake news back then, Dennis. If you read the newspapers, the Indians were savages and cannibals and everything else. That's what the newspapers were putting out. And it was far from the truth.
Right. So, on the charge of America deliberately committed genocide, what's your answer?
Ridiculous propaganda. False in every way. After the Little Bighorn, after the massacre of Custer in Montana, then the policy changed in Washington to we have to either kill them or put them on a reservation. Before that, there was a series of negotiations with almost every Native American tribe.
All right, go on.
So, anybody who says that James Monroe, who was the first president to basically say we're going to have a sea to shining sea policy, that means we're going to have to settle the whole country because if we don't, Spain, France, and Britain are going to cleave out the western part of North America. That's what Monroe feared. So he said and encouraged people to go west. But it wasn't, we're going to kill all the Native Americans. It was, we're going to try to get along with them. There's enough land for everybody. That was the original plan of the U.S. government.
That's important. All right, I hope you have more time. This is for moral reasons, for American reasons. It has always fascinated me, and it's a very important subject. Bill O'Reilly, Martin Dugard, Killing Crazy Horse, The Merciless Indian Wars in America. We'll have one more segment. The book is up at DennisPrager.com, and it is written both historically, accurately, and in a very compelling way.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Have you ever seen a story of corruption that just gives as much as this story, John?
No, and you know what? We don't have half of it yet. That's what's so scary about what we're learning. And I think we ought to bring everybody back to the beginning of impeachment because it's also worth calling out the false narrative that Democrats gave during impeachment. Everyone who raised questions about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden was a Russian propagandist because there was nothing wrong that happened on Hunter Biden's watch when he was at Burisma. Well, guess what? State Department documents we got under a lawsuit this past weekend emphatically show that George Kent, the guy with the bow tie who made himself famous during the impeachment, a senior State Department official. One
of the famous impeachment witnesses with his bow tie.
Absolutely. Right. Yes, he made himself famous with that bow tie. And he wrote a memo delineating that while Hunter Biden was on the board and while Burisma was under corruption investigation by both the British and the Ukrainian authorities, a Burisma representative paid a $7 million bribe to the Ukrainian prosecutor overseeing the case. And the impact of that bribe was the prosecutor then went and shut down an aspect of the case that killed the British court case that was working its way through the British courts. And Kent writes, not only did a prosecutor confirm the bribe occurred, so they get confirmation, he wrote that it wasted a long amount of work by the FBI, which had been helping the Brits make a case against Priestmas. And we learned a lot from this memo.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Now, Senator Cotton, yesterday in Pittsburgh, diners were assaulted again. The president tweeted about it this morning. That makes Rochester, Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., of course, the unrest in Kenosha, the unrest in Portland. How long is this going to go on, and what is its impact on the election, in your opinion?
Well, Hugh, unfortunately, it's probably going to go on as long as these Democratic mayors and governors do not use the police in force, and if necessary against the riots at nighttime, the National Guard, to deter this criminal behavior. And if the police are not allowed to arrest these criminals and prosecutors do not charge them with every crime they've committed until these criminals on the streets recognize there are consequences for their actions, they're going to continue to commit these crimes. And we don't have to imagine what the Biden administration would do under such circumstances. They're not going to call for local police departments to be allowed to do their job, or they're not going to encourage governors to use the National Guard against rioters. They're going to spend their time harassing and even prosecuting police departments, because that's exactly what we saw in the Obama-Biden Department of Justice. They consistently blamed the police first. They required police to sign onerous consent decrees in federal court to limit policing tactics, and crime invariably went up in cities where the police were handcuffed by the Obama-Biden DOJ, to say nothing of their Democratic mayors. It's just one more reason why it's so important that we reelect the president. Only
Let me ask
Donald
you,
Trump will stand up for law-abiding citizens and law enforcement. Joe Biden will stand with these mobs.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
The whole idea of career politicians is anathema to the United States of America. From Washington himself, they understood that we're supposed, if we the people are the government, we're supposed to pick from among we the people. Joe Biden is the definition. You couldn't, if you wrote a book and you said, what is the ultimate career politician? The dude has been a senator since the early 1970s. Can you even imagine?
All righty, everybody. He's tackled a very important issue, morally, patriotically, because everything has. The truth is our friend, even when it's difficult. You use the word.
Yeah, it's hard to get, Dennis. You know that. The media is totally corrupted, and I've been in there for 45 years, and I know exactly what's happened to it. Corporations control it. Money is everything. After the November election, the television news media will collapse. You heard it here on the Prager show first. Keep that tape. They're already getting ready. That's a little redundant. They're getting ready to lay off a lot of people. All the networks, all the cables will do it. And Donald Trump has destroyed the media because their hatred for him has destroyed their search for the truth.
That's right.
It's very ironic. In fact, you could write a book on it. But anyway,
yeah, you should. Your next book should be killing the media.
Anyway.
Your next book should be killing the media. Your next book should be killing the media.
It might be, because you're going to see a dramatic change to people like you and me. So, if you want fact-based history and sociology, you go to PragerU. If you want daily news coverage that's not going to lie to you or slant, you go to BillO'Reilly.com. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you're going to sit there in your living room and continue to watch cable news, you're not getting the truth. Because the corporations don't want to tell the truth. And the NFL is going to be destroyed. I mean, it's just going to go on and on and on. Where do you see the repercussions that come in 2021?
Yeah, the NFL. I'm watching that because I can't imagine anybody enjoying watching people who have contempt for them. It's astonishing to me. You're racist. The country is despicable. I won't stand for the flag and the national anthem, but please watch me. It confounds me.
But this is all about peer pressure. You know that.
It doesn't matter.
70%.
Okay. But they've done it.
Yeah.
Why they did it is irrelevant. They did it. There have to be repercussions. Sports was the one island left in society where everybody could enjoy each other.
And there will be repercussions because 50% of the fan base won't buy the merchandise. So with COVID, you don't have the $8 hot dogs and the $14 beers anymore. Nobody's in the stands. So the teams make their money selling the hats, shirts, and jackets. Well, that's going to go down 50%. So I wrote a column on BillO'Reilly.com entitled, Put Your Money Where Your Knee Is. This is the high point of athletic salaries in America today. Because the next time around, their negotiation is going to be, we don't have a lot of money anymore. So this is what you're going to have to take. It's going to be far less than you're making now. So that's going to happen. But it's society is going to have to make a decision. I mean, do we want this crazy stuff? Socialism, color-based entitlements. I mean, it goes against everything that we've had since 1776. So I realize that our founding fathers were all fascist white supremacists. When I hear that, I just go, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the media is fostering, enabling? It's a scandal of epic proportions.
Epic proportions. And the universities. All right, my friend. I will talk soon. And again, folks, I think it's very important, truly important to read. Killing Crazy Horse, Bill O'Reilly with Martin Dugard, not with, and The Merciless Indian Wars in America. Bill, congratulations.
Thank you for having me, Dennis. We'll talk soon.
Yes, indeed. Epic proportions, he's right. You know what the key word that he used there, which is therefore in the realm more of tragedy than good and evil, is the inevitability. The only way, I'm not defending everything done to the Indians. It's not defensible. But the only way that all conflict would have been averted is for no Europeans to settle North America. And, is that realistic? Only Indians would populate the entire continent of North America? But the left doesn't see tragedy. They just see white evil. My friend's Relief Factor. Did you know it was founded by a father and son, Pete and Seth Talbot? Did you know that I know them? Well, you might. I mentioned that. You met them too. They're impressive. They're serious people. They're morally serious. They're obviously entrepreneurial serious because they have one of the most successful supplements ever made in America. Because it works for so many people. So I ask you to just give it a try for 3 weeks if you have some ache. Particularly, back, muscle, neck, shoulder, hip, knee. 800-500-8384. 3-week quick start is just $19.95 and shipping. ReliefFactor.com.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me ask you very quickly about Senator Harris. I think when she threw doubt on the vaccine, she did a terrible disservice to America. Everybody's got to be on the same page when a vaccine is approved, that people who are in risk groups take it. What were you shocked that she actually threw doubt? Because that's going to make it much more difficult to get people to become vaccinated.
It's very disappointing to see Senator Harris throw in with the anti-vaccine crowd. Look, the world's leading scientists and researchers are all racing to try to find a safe and effective vaccine for the coronavirus. And I am 100% confident that those world-class scientists and researchers, along with our public health agencies, will only put on the market a vaccine that is safe and effective.
Have you talked to Senator Harris yet about throwing in with the anti-vaxxers?
I have not. I've not been on her short call list over these last couple of days, Hugh, if you can imagine it. When she was up instead in Wisconsin, visiting a state that Democrats have generally stayed away from for the last 4 years, like Hillary Clinton did.
She will deny that she's thrown in with the anti-vaxxers, I'm sure, but I don't believe that's an inaccurate statement, Senator.
Well, it's not an accurate statement at all, Hugh. I mean, she has expressed doubt and skepticism about a vaccine that doesn't yet exist. And we don't know when it might exist, but when it does exist, it will be safe and effective because it will have gone through rigorous testing and trials.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Then people know you from every now and again. I see you on these TV commercials. Are you still doing those?
Absolutely.
You crack me up. But we both involved in a film called Trump 2024. It's really a documentary, and there's all kinds of people involved in it. I should say to folks, if you go to salemnow.com and use the code Eric, you get a discount, salemnow.com. But why did you get involved in this documentary, Mike Lindell, Trump 2024?
Well, when I first met him, I met him in the summer of 2016 in a private half-hour meeting. He invited me out to talk with him about, my pillow being made in the USA. But all these things he talked about, I'm going, there are a couple of things people need to know about our president. The gift he has of being so pragmatic and problem solution like a businessman, but knowing what it's going to manifest to. What is it, just because you solve the problem and have the solution, you better know what's it going to manifest to in our daily lives. And that's a gift that he has.
This afternoon, or it could be, let's see, it would be evening time East. What time is it? 4:30 Pacific time. The 7:30 Eastern time. Yeah. I will be with Ben Shapiro, Adam Carolla, Dave Rubin, the four of us, about the cancel culture. So listen to this. So Facebook has not allowed us to put up ads for the free. It's a free broadcast. Where can people see it? Where do people go? And nosafespaces.com, I assume. No? Yeah, I think so. Nosafespaces.com, because it's coming out on DVD. Or just came out. What is today, the 17th? Yeah. Do you understand what is happening? Facebook has canceled ads for a program of 4 conservatives about canceling conservatives. Right. That's the word. That's the proper end of the sentence. Never in American history has there been as concerted an effort to shut down free speech as the left is doing now, and in collaboration with big business, so big tech specifically. It shows you that Mark Zuckerberg, phenomenally wealthy man, even he cannot withstand the left. Zuckerberg announced, "It is not my business to censor. Free speech means free speech." That was what he said. Remember that? In Congress. And the New York Times, which is essentially America's Pravda today, say it with only sadness. It's a propaganda sheet for the left. That's all it is. It is. You know, you got to. I wonder if I threw it away. The front page headline: "President versus Science." Did you see that? The subtitle, the right hand side. I mean, there is no distinction between editorial and news on any political issue. There is on an issue that, you know, as I always say, an earthquake in Colombia is going to be fairly reported. Never has there been such an attack on free speech. And the number of Americans who go along with it is distressing. Trump, oh, Trump, 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 Trump. Every time I have a piece on the internet, oh, how could he talk about morality? He supports Trump. It's all Trump. NoSafeSpaces.com/live. You know what? We have a punishment room, but we don't have a reward room. But you know why? Because we cannot broadcast the sounds that would emanate from the reward room. We would face FCC problems. That's why we don't have a reward room. So /live, I'm sure, NoSafeSpaces.com. It's very important that you watch. First of all, you'll enjoy it. I mean, I'm with three rather fascinating individuals: Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro, and Adam Carolla. I'm honored to be in that company. This is what is happening in the United States of America. When I wrote we're in a civil war, I don't know how many years, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, many people, including Republicans, criticized, I wouldn't say attacked, criticized me for overstating the case. Nobody thinks I overstated it now, because now people are saying it. I don't know why people, I take that back. I do know. I know why people did not want to acknowledge it. People don't acknowledge painful things. It's like the 4 stages. What was the famous thing, the 4 stages that people go through when they're told that they have a terminal illness? And it begins with denial. The bad news gets usually denial. I don't know how I would react if I got such a prognosis. I guess I might act exactly like everybody else. But on macro issues, I don't engage in denial. Because the longer you engage in denial, the less time you have to fight. Stages of grief. Yes. Denial, anger. What was it? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression. And finally, acceptance. What is the woman's name who came up with that? Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. That's right, exactly. It became very famous. I don't know if it's as famous today. 1969. Okay, I got it. Thank you. 1-8-Prager-776. This is the state that we're in, and I have no more words really to describe the immorality of the lockdown, like in California, that I can't, the deliberate crushing of small businesses by Gavin Newsom and Eric Garcetti, who personally have zero stake in this. There is no medical or moral justification. It's purely political.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
The whole idea of career politicians is anathema to the United States of America. From Washington himself, they understood that we're supposed, if we the people are the government, we're supposed to pick from among we the people. Joe Biden is the definition. You couldn't, if you wrote a book and you said, what is the ultimate career politician? The dude has been a senator since the early 1970s. Can you even imagine? Not in politics, politics, a senator.
Right.
And he has clearly benefited personally, and his family's benefited personally. And now he says he wants to run for president. And you think, wow, what record are you pointing to? This is not looking very good for Joe Biden.
But I've looked into Biden, and one of the things I find interesting about a career politician is how they change their mind to benefit them to stay in politics. It's like, I look back at Joe, all the racist things he said way back in the 70s, and these are public knowledge, and I'm going, and now you're over here, or whether it could be anything. I don't care if it's abortion, I don't care what it is. They change to whatever the narrative is to get them elected. And I find that just appalling. You either have a moral compass and you stick with what you believe, or you don't change. If you're changing just to keep your job, you have a different kind of agenda than what you're supposed to be. And that's why we shouldn't have career politicians.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
After the whole pregame thing was all about Black Lives Matter and change and making a difference, I would respectfully say that it is asinine to accuse those fans of being racist when they were probably saying, and they were likely saying, enough, play the game. We want to escape from turmoil and violence and rage and protest. We want to watch a football game. And that's why they booed. Let's see what you think, though. 1-800-655-MIKE. We're live streaming as we do every day at MikeOnline.com. We'll take you to New York City and listen in as Vice President Pence and the Second Lady talked about commemorating and prayed over the 9/11 ceremony. We will never forget. I was in the Empire State Building that day, and let's get some more slower music in there, Eric, for me. Let's get a little bit of more music that kind of matches the day today. 1-800-655-MIKE. Let's get your reaction to the NFL opener last night. Let's talk a little bit about this important day, 9/11, and I'd love your participation because you know me. I just want to hear from you. Agree, disagree, somewhere in between.
Oh, the Beach Boys. Yes, I'm Dennis Prager. It was the 5 stages of grief, by the way. It wasn't 4. It ended up 5. Just for the record, because I'm crazy about truth and accuracy. Michael in Orlando, Florida. Hello.
Hi, Dennis. Always a pleasure, sir. I just wanted to say that 13 years ago, we lost our daughter, Alexandra, and she was, it was her due date, and something happened. It's called an abruption, and she lost 90% of her blood back into my wife. So she didn't suffer the pains of life, and they were taking us back to the room, and they separate you from live birth.
His phone died.
Kind of strange on her because now she's being cared for by God. But with the 5 stages of grief, what we did, because all the counseling and stuff was sorely lacking, we leapt to acceptance, and we had God in our foremost in our thought, and so we experienced this great loss with tinges of joy. And 362 days later, we had our daughter Elizabeth, who happened to, we were in the same operating theater, same group of surgeons and nurses and stuff like that, and they were doing a C-section because they didn't want that to happen again. And so they were talking us through it, and all of a sudden, everybody was cussing. They were like shocked and cussing. My wife was squeezing off, and the doctor said, "Daddy, you got to see this." And my daughter had kicked her way out of the amniotic sac, and she was screaming like crazy.
Anyway, did that,
and it was so beautiful.
All right, well, God bless you. Okay, look, obviously, I don't know how people can, but without religion, it's very hard. Life is very hard on an intellectual level, not emotional. There's no God, there's no creator, there's no designer, there's no providence, there's no afterlife. Even if things go well for you, which it very rarely does as a consistent thing in life, most everybody has pain. Even then, so what? You still have to confront the void of this blip called life, in which this blip called life exists. And so people have to deal with it. Look, I am convinced, I've been saying this all of my life, all of my broadcast life, it is all ultimately the problem in America is a religious one in the final analysis, which reminds me, by the way, Jew or non-Jew, you'll be deeply moved by the 4K video of my service last year, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. I explain everything. Go to the banner at DennisPrager.com, High Holy Days.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Wendy is in Rancho Cordova, California. Wendy, you're on The Larry Elder Show with Dr. Strom.
Just today on NBC, after work, I'm watching, you got that Rosin report, and he's got these people on Skype having them do their temperature with various things. They've all supposedly have COVID, but they're all not testing with a high temperature. It's either 98.1 or 97 or, so isn't that the big key? Everybody's taking everybody's temperature to decide whether or not they can go through an entrance or something?
Wendy, look, at temperature is the only objective thing that we can test. When I come into the hospital every day, I get my temperature checked, they spray my hands with a disinfectant, and they ask me if I have any COVID symptoms. Temperature is the only thing you can do objectively because, this virus can be like a cold. You can have a sore throat, you can have a lack of taste, you can have a lack of smell. You could have some shortness of breath. There's fires here. Everybody can have these symptoms. So the only symptom we can reliably, or the only objective sign, is the temperature. However, frequently, 40% of patients with COVID are totally asymptomatic, don't even have that. So just because you don't have a fever doesn't mean you cannot have COVID, but it's the only objective measure we can do to determine if somebody may be infectious.
And also, if you have a fever, though, it doesn't necessarily mean you have COVID.
More likely than not, you do not have COVID with a fever.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
The attack in LA County, those two police officers, one a 31-year-old mother of 6. Somebody tried to paint this as random violence, a local council member. Stephanie, walking up to a police car and shooting 2 police officers in the head isn't random or accidental, is it?
This is not random. We can thank the Democrats for stoking this violence and hatred against police officers. They've been doing this for years. We've seen it escalate as of recently, thanks to this defund police movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. This video was really shocking. It made me want to cry to see somebody pull out a gun and just shoot these two police officers point blank. I mean, it's unbelievable. And there's a lot of silence from the left on this. And then the ones who are speaking out, like Joe Biden, they're calling for gun control. What gun control measure would have stopped this criminal from shooting police officers?
Because if there were tougher gun laws in California, I'm sure he wouldn't have shot those two police officers in the head, right, Steph?
Correct, because the gun laws aren't already some of the strictest in the nation, of course. So Biden is just so out of touch. If you're going to speak on an issue like this, at least say something intelligent, have some compassion for the police officers who were shot. And what really bothered me, aside from all of this, is did you see this video that was going viral of a man who was live streaming the aftermath of the shooting? He had his cell phone out, and I don't know if these were his friends or there were other guys just in the background. They're laughing about what happened.
They're celebrating that two police officers, quote unquote, got aired out.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Did you hear what Fauci said to MSNBC over the weekend? Listen to this.
And I said what I've been saying all along, that I believe that we will have a vaccine that will be available by the end of this year, the beginning of next year. But by the time you mobilize the distribution of the vaccinations and you get the majority or more of the population vaccinated and protected, that's likely not going to happen till the mid or end of 2021. So in direct response to that person's question, I said, if you're talking about getting back to a degree of normality, which resembles where we were prior to COVID, it's going to be well into 2021, maybe even towards the end of 2021.
Wow. Now, I debated internally whether to play that clip or not, because I know how despondent, how depressed, how much despair Fauci is engendering with that comment. I thought about a buddy of mine last night who refused to watch the Dallas Cowboys play football. And I admit I watched some NFL yesterday because I, like you, want some sliver of normal. It's not normal to see players take a knee during the national anthem. And for me, a personal decision was I'm not going to let them prevent me from having a little bit of entertainment in that venue. Friend of mine, Mark Davis in Dallas, one knee, I'm out. He's a big Cowboys fan.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me ask you very quickly about Senator Harris. I think when she threw doubt on the vaccine, she did a terrible disservice to America. Everybody's got to be on the same page when a vaccine is approved, that people who are in risk groups take it. What were you shocked that she actually threw doubt? Because that's going to make it much more difficult to get people to become vaccinated.
It's very disappointing to see Senator Harris throw in with the anti-vaccine crowd. Look, the world's leading scientists and researchers are all racing to try to find a safe and effective vaccine for the coronavirus. And I am 100% confident that those world-class scientists and researchers, along with our public health agencies, will only put on the market a vaccine that is safe and effective.
Have you talked to Senator Harris yet about throwing in with the anti-vaxxers?
I've not been on her short call list over these last couple of days, Hugh, if you can imagine it, when she was up instead
All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. I always find this man interesting and important. Dan Henninger of the Wall Street Journal editorial board and columnist. And his latest column is it fair to say, Dan Henninger, that this is about the angriest column you might have ever written?
It's probably right up there, Dennis. But these are angry times, as we know.
That's correct. You use an interesting term for the Democrats and their avoidance at best and sympathy with at worst the violence that for months has taken over parts of America. And the word you use is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you use that and not, let's say, evil?
Evil would have been an even heavier word to use. We could get to that point, possibly. But I thought that they had reached the level of insane behavior. It is irrational. And it is a problem for the Biden-Harris campaign. I mean, the violence that the American people have been watching in so many cities going on for so long has been quite extraordinary. But, analysts for the longest time it was raised at the Republican convention, and it was raised by the Republicans, and it was raised by President Trump, the law and order issue. It had come back. But many analysts have tried to minimize it, saying it really wasn't much of an election issue. It was out there, but it didn't rate very highly. And lo and behold, this week a Monmouth poll discovered that 65% of respondents thought law and order is a big issue. But what jumped out at me was that 60% of black respondents and nearly 65% of Hispanic also thought it was a big deal. Just 46% of white respondents thought law and order, non-Republican white respondents thought it was a big deal. Well, the fact that it's become an issue is a problem for Biden and Harris. But what I wrote is that a bigger problem for them is that the Democratic left in America is now clearly certifiably insane. And I don't make that charge lightly. I think the tipping point was what happened there in Los Angeles. 2 cops sitting in a car shot at point blank by a guy who runs away, and then the event at the hospital. Protests always follow these events, but this one had people standing outside that hospital saying, where the cops were being helped, saying, "We hope they die." And Dennis, this got me thinking about the nature of these protests. I mean, the conventional wisdom has been to say they're mostly peaceful, meaning mostly they don't loot, mostly they don't smash windows. Well, if we watch the protests closely, what we frequently see is protesters standing right up in the faces of the cops at length, screaming obscenities and personal insults at them. I have to say, Dennis, how these cops have the self-discipline not to react is beyond me, because it goes on and on. And why are they doing this? They're doing it because there is no longer any fear of the cops. People normally wouldn't behave in that sort of way because you'd get arrested. But they're doing it because they know they won't be arrested. If they're arrested, they'll be released. And the prosecutors in many of these cities will not press charges against them. And what we're seeing is the consequences, as you know, of progressive prosecutors that have been elected the last several years: Philadelphia, Chicago, San Francisco, Boston, Queens, New York, elsewhere, that have decriminalized criminal behavior. They have reduced the definition of crime, and they have cut down on prosecutions, and they have tried very hard, systematically, to pull back the level of policing in these cities. And now, it seems to me, we have been seeing a test case, a real-world test case of the progressive model in this last 100 days. And it's turned out to be a catastrophe. And for the Democrats, or for conventional wisdom, to keep arguing that is merely peaceful protest and that it will go away once Donald Trump is no longer president, I think is the definition of irrationality and political insanity.
I have a darker view. I actually think that a lot of people in America do believe that the defeat of Donald Trump is the end of violence.
Yeah, clearly they do. But these, that kind of relates to the rise of these so-called progressive prosecutors in so many cities. Those prosecutors, Dennis, did not seize power in any way. They were all elected.
Yes, that's my point.
By the people of their cities.
That's right.
And
yep.
And the liberal mind now has gotten to the point where it actually believes things such as that reducing the police function and replacing it, and this is explicit in their plans, replacing it with sociologists, social workers, interveners, and so forth, is going to reduce crime in those neighborhoods. And I have to say, I've written about this before, Dennis. To me, this is one of the greatest, most morally reprehensible issues of our time, which is to say, for 60 years, liberals, Democratic cities have been in charge of neighborhoods like the Bronx, Brownsville and Brooklyn, Compton, Watts, East St. Louis, South Side of Chicago, on and on. 60 years of failure, because those neighborhoods have not changed all that much, and we know what's going on every weekend in places like the South Side of Chicago or the Bronx. And I think what's been going on here is that liberalism is so appalled and so embarrassed at this catastrophe that they now are trying to simply explain it away as something that doesn't exist. In other words, these aren't real crimes, these are behavioral problems.
Right.
That is irrational.
Or a result of Donald Trump. That's what your colleague, well, they're not your colleagues, your fellow quote-unquote journalists, I don't think that the New York Times deserves that term, but you don't have to react to that. But that's what they are saying down the street, as it were, from the Wall Street Journal at the New York Times. All of this is a result of Donald Trump, and I believe a serious percentage of Americans believe that.
The animosity towards Trump, whatever one may think about Trump personally or his policies, the level of animosity towards him has obviously reached, I think, seriously, a clinical neurosis. We talk about Trump derangement syndrome. Well, I hope someday psychologists are actually writing about it explicitly. But as you know, we now have the spectacle, really, of articles being written in the mainstream media, The Atlantic, The Washington Post, suggesting that Democrats somehow may not be able to emotionally accept a possible Trump victory. They themselves suggesting there may be violence in the street.
That's right.
Over that.
Yep.
That is just unbelievable in my mind, and I think that's really why Attorney General Barr yesterday suggested the prosecutors consider prosecuting people for sedition, because I think he sees a situation coming after the election in which a lot of Democrats simply won't accept it and are going to engage in violent civil demonstrations against a legitimate presidency.
That's the reason, and this was not a challenge. It was truly an open question. I think there is an element of insanity, but I also think that there's a moral element, which you do too, obviously. You said it's morally reprehensible. So what you're saying, though, I mean, let's be clear. If the left, and I always distinguish between left and liberal, if the left is insane, then the Democratic Party is insane because it's run by the left.
Yes, I mean, I suggested as much in my column that the Democrats are tipping over into a kind of irrationality and one's hope. And I'm with you, Dennis. I do try to make that distinction between liberals and the left. And one keeps hoping that
that the liberals will do the same.
Will do the same.
All right, let me tell everybody, your column is up, of course, at our website. Thank you for writing it, and let's pray for the best. Thank you, Dan Henninger.
Okay, Dennis. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. We'll be back.
Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
I know not to trust standard media outlets, but to whom am I supposed to turn? How do I know who to trust? Where can I go for real information?
Great question. Dr. Strom, who do you rely on for your information?
Okay, so what I really like, and I think it's pretty accurate, is the Johns Hopkins newsletter.
Right.
It comes out every 4 to 5 days. I think that information is very accurate. That's where I get most of my information from. Listening to television, you're going to get skewed data. So that's what I said in my opening segment. I'm not so sure about the numbers. I don't know if the numbers they're telling us are too low or too high. I just don't know yet. And I think it's very hard to know. And you have a very valid point. I think a lot of people feel like you.
And Doctor, when we're talking about countries like China, like Cuba, like North Korea, how in the world can we trust their numbers? I keep hearing that we, America, have more people in prison than any other country on the face of the earth per capita, blah, blah, blah. You think Cuba and China and North Korea are accurately reporting who they have behind bars? Please.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Larry. I share that skepticism. I don't know if you can believe that. I do remember at the beginning of the pandemic looking at the hot spots, and I saw Russia didn't have any cases.
Yeah.
So,
Zero in the whole country.
Now they have them, but I will tell you, they touted their vaccination. They got the Russian vaccination, but I will tell you, as a doctor and a scientist, that was only phase 2, so it didn't go the complete route of evaluation. So it's hard to believe. It's hard to know.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
This is America in the 2020 year of our Lord. Anti-police protesters appeared. And people celebrated that attack, saying things like, yelling things like, "We hope they die." This in a year when more than 30 officers have been killed in the line of duty in the United States. To which, and this is pathetic, I don't care who you are, but for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to tweet out early Sunday the following. #Compton. Oh, and then they put it in capital letters. How brave of them. "Do not block emergency entries and exits to the hospital." You're the Sheriff's Department. You've got demonstrators saying, "Hope they die" outside the hospital, and you tweet at them not to block the entrances and exits. Every single person blocking that hospital should be in chains, should be in cuffs, should be in leg irons in the local jail. But you're tweeting at them? What do you think you're doing? You're a sworn peace officer. Do your damn job.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
A 35-year-old Henderson County, North Carolina sheriff's deputy named Ryan Hendricks was fatally shot by a suspect. The Henderson County Sheriff's Department issued a press release saying, quote, "Early this morning while
Sierra Pacific. Sierra Pacific.
A reminder that this is a remarkably good time for you to refi, or if you're buying a house, get a loan at a very, very low, I think unprecedentedly low rate. I'm proud of these guys, Andrew and Todd. They have actually been at work from the very beginning of the lockdown, when very few people were at work in these matters. I have not met them, but I have great admiration for the dedication. As I've often said, we used the term when I was a kid, or my father used the term, that guy's a hustler, and he only meant it positively. He really works. They really do. They've been in it the whole time. I'd like you to contact them, andrewandtodd.com. Let them help you navigate your refi, Wi-Fi, or whatever it might be. Call Andrew and Todd at 888-888 there with Sierra Pacific Mortgage. 888-888-1172, or go to andrewandtodd.com. They'll take it from there. 888-888-1172, andrewandtodd.com. I just had Dan Henninger, one of the major writers at the Wall Street Journal, on. He has, as I said to him, might be the angriest column I've ever read of his. He's very calm. Said the left has gone insane. And I said, that means the Democratic Party has. He said, that's right. So listen, so he writes about how they didn't say a word about all the violence at their convention and talk about defunding police. So I read comments on columns, because that's where you learn what people think. So listen to, these are all subscribers to the Wall Street Journal, to their credit, and who disagree with Daniel Henninger. How could you disagree that the left has gone insane and that the Democratic Party has been silent on violence? So listen to, I'm going to read to you just some. I mean, there are like, 1,700 comments, so I didn't read anything near that. But listen to some of these. Of course, this is nonsense. Sheer fabrication about Joe Biden. It's sheer fabrication that Biden said nothing at the convention about the violence. It's sheer fabrication. Do you understand? I do understand this. I'm not sure everybody, even those of you who agree with me, understand this. It is not that left and right differ about what to do about an issue. They differ about reality itself. Most people on the left believe that the violence was fomented by right-wingers in disguise as left-wingers. You know that? Or it wasn't that bad, or it happened because of Trump. This guy writes, this is nonsense, sheer fabrication about Joe Biden. He continues, now for some real news. This just in, Trump claims the dog ate my health care plan. This is a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal. He sounds like an idiot. It all goes back to, what are you talking about that the left foments violence, that the left has destroyed tens of millions of dollars of businesses, burned down buildings, and shot police? No, Trump, just in, Trump's dog ate his health care plan. Next, subscriber. Joe Biden has condemned all violence. Trump has encouraged and perpetrated, I thought he was going to say perpetuated. Trump has encouraged and perpetrated violence. Talk about which side is insane. See? This is it. What are you talking about? The left isn't causing the violence, the right is. This is a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal. This is not a writer at BuzzFeed. Trump has encouraged and perpetrated. He has perpetrated violence. He has encouraged. I know they go back to the very beginning when he would talk about some guy at that, remember, a rally or something. You have to understand the reason that it is so rare to find someone on the left who will rationally debate is their perception of reality differs from reality. It's not the left that's causing violence. It is classic. You should get the famous Groucho Marx where he's caught in bed with another woman and his wife walks in. And what is it, the famous line? What are you going to believe me or your lying eyes? That's essentially what the left is saying to America. You're going to believe us on the left or your own lying eyes? Oh, it's not Groucho. There you go. Not lying eyes. Me or your own eyes. That was Harpo. Chico, right? Chico. So, Harpo doesn't talk, right? So she finds him in bed with another woman. You going to believe me or your eyes? It's one of the great lines in film history. Yeah, you Americans, you're gonna believe what you saw? By the way, you didn't even see much of it because CNN doesn't tend to show the violence. So this is what they're writing. Let me give you more. Let's see. The only folks still largely supporting Trump are older white men. They mostly populate his hate rallies, but the country is a lot bigger than that. The election will be here soon enough. Now, the guy's a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal. Isn't that interesting? To his credit, I have to admit. That's it. By the way, let us say that it is largely older white guys. First of all, older white guys can't elect the president. There aren't enough of them. Secondly, older white guys are baby boomers. The baby boomers were the seeds of leftism. You know how many older white guys are leftists? It's somewhat of a joke. I wish all older white guys were Republican. And anyway, let's say they were. Does it make them wrong? Back in a moment.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
After the whole pregame thing was all about Black Lives Matter and change and making a difference, I would respectfully say that it is asinine to accuse those fans of being racist when they were probably saying, and they were likely saying, enough, play the game. We want to escape from turmoil and violence and rage and protest. We want to watch a football game. And that's why they booed. Let's see what you think, though. 1-800-655-MIKE. We're live streaming as we do every day at MikeOnline.com. We'll take you to New York City and listen in as Vice President Pence and the Second Lady talked about commemorating and prayed over the 9/11 ceremony. We will never forget. I was in the Empire State Building that day, and let's get some more slower music in there, Eric, for me. Let's get a little bit of more music that kind of matches the day today. 1-800-655-MIKE. Let's get your reaction to the NFL opener last night. Let's talk a little bit about this important day, 9/11. And I'd love your participation because you know me. I just want to hear from you. Agree, disagree, somewhere in between? We are all ears. One open line, 800-655-MIKE. Press 1 to come on air with us, 2 to leave a voicemail message.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Wendy is in Rancho Cordova, California. Wendy, you're on the Larry Elder Show with Dr. Strom.
Just today on NBC, after work, I'm watching, you got that rosin report, and he's got these people on Skype having them do their temperature with various things. They've all supposedly have COVID, but they're all not testing with a high temperature. It's either 98.1 or 97 or, so isn't that the big key? Everybody's taking everybody's temperature to decide whether or not they can go through an entrance or something?
Wendy, look, at temperature is the only objective thing that we can test. When I come into the hospital every day, I get my temperature checked, they spray my hands with a disinfectant, and they ask me if I have any COVID symptoms. Temperature is the only thing you can do objectively because, this virus can be like a cold. You can have a sore throat, you can have a lack of taste, you can have a lack of smell, you could have some shortness of breath. There's fires here. Everybody can have these symptoms. So the only symptom we can reliably, or the only objective sign, is the temperature. However, frequently, 40% of patients with COVID are totally asymptomatic, don't even have that. So just because you don't have a fever doesn't mean you cannot have COVID, but it's the only objective measure we can do to determine if somebody may be infectious.
And also, if you have a fever, though, it doesn't necessarily mean you have COVID.
More likely than not, you do not have COVID with a fever.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
The attack in LA County, those two police officers, one a 31-year-old mother of 6. Somebody tried to paint this as random violence, a local council member. Stephanie, walking up to a police car and shooting 2 police officers in the head isn't random or accidental, is it?
This is not random. We can thank the Democrats for
Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here. So I am reading to you comments by subscribers to the Wall Street Journal to Daniel Henninger, one of the major editorial writers at the Wall Street Journal, saying that the left has gone insane, a term he has never used in his career, about the violence and not condemning it. And of course, you say, well, Joe Biden condemned it, of course. But it's basically silent, and they don't prosecute people who are engaged in the violence, with very rare exceptions. So I'm reading to you, and this is really important. I am reading to you reactions of people to the Henninger piece. Here's another one. Or you could define madness as saying masks don't work. Yesterday, President Donald Trump again contradicted his own health officials' coronavirus statements, this time on the importance of mask wearing. So this response is, don't call us on the left, or don't call the left mad. Madness is saying masks don't work. By the way, he did contradict Redfield in his idiotic testimony that it was even better than a vaccine. He then retracted it later, said he misspoke, just so you'll know. So, of course, the left will say, at pressure by the president. Well, then the man is not a scientist. If he's going to change science because of a president's pressure, then how do we know his first statements weren't made for pressure from someone else? So it doesn't exactly defend him. So let me tell you about masks, okay? This is May 21st, 2020, while it was still possible to say anything truthful about masks. This is in the most distinguished medical journal in the United States, the New England Journal of Medicine, by Michael Klumpus, MD, MPH, Charles Morris, MD, MPH. Well, I don't know what MPH stands for, miles per hour, but I doubt it. Julia Sinclair, MBA, Madeline Pearson, DNP, RN, and Erica Shenoy, MD, PhD. Universal masking in hospitals in the COVID-19 era. May 21st, New England Journal of Medicine. We know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. Master of Public Health, thank you. I am a Master of Public Health. Just for the record, I don't have a Master's in Public Health. Again, we know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. Public health authorities define a significant exposure to COVID-19 as face-to-face contact within 6 feet with a patient with symptomatic COVID-19 that is sustained for at least a few minutes, and some say more than 10 minutes or even 30 minutes. The chance of catching COVID-19 from a passing interaction in a public space is therefore minimal. In many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic. A mask will not protect providers caring for a patient with active COVID-19 if it's not accompanied by meticulous hand hygiene, eye protection, gloves, and a gown. That's all. Yeah. A mask alone will not prevent healthcare workers with early COVID-19 from contaminating their hands and spreading the virus to patients and colleagues. Focusing on universal masking alone may paradoxically lead to more transmission of COVID-19 if it diverts attention from implementing more fundamental infection control measures. Okay, so this is very interesting. It is so unambiguous. It is so clear masks are worthless, except in very long periods of time. And this is a hospital setting? Okay, between two people. And remember, asymptomatic, they wrote there that it's about very unlikely to come from the asymptomatic. So then they wrote a letter later under pressure because they wrote something the left can't stand, truth. So they wrote a phony reversal, which I will read to you when we come back. Riduzone is the only product the FDA accepts that is OEA composed. Doctors made up this product that has 2 patents. OEA is that molecule in our bodies that tells us we're full. You're full, you eat less. Unless you're, I guess, addicted to food, even if you're full. Most people stop eating when they're full. So if you're full, you'll eat less and burn more fat. It's not rocket science, as they used to say. Riduzone is exclusively available at riduzone.com. Use the promo code Dennis to immediately save 30%. riduzone.com and get an immediate 30% discount and free shipping by using the promo code Dennis, and there is a 30-day guarantee of satisfaction. Riduzone.com, promo code Dennis.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
A 35-year-old Henderson County, North Carolina sheriff's deputy named Ryan Hendricks was fatally shot by a suspect. The Henderson County Sheriff's Department issued a press release saying, quote, Early this morning, while the world slept, Ryan responded to assist a family needing help when they became innocent victims of a violent encounter. We all know the tragic outcome, but Ryan refuses to let the story end there. Even in passing, Ryan was also an organ donor. He will continue to help strangers for a lifetime, even after making the ultimate sacrifice. Ryan's family wants everyone to know that Ryan was doing the job he was born to do, and he died doing the job he loved. He was a Marine, served his country in the United States Marine Corps, served his country as a Henderson County Sheriff's deputy. 2 little children, was about to get married. Deputy Ryan Hendricks. Now, I get we should say Breonna Taylor's name. I get we should say George Floyd's name. I want to say George Floyd's name. I want to say the names of those who died. Am I some kind of a horrific, bigoted monster for saying that we should say Ryan Hendricks' name? Say his name. Say the name of law enforcement that are trying to help a community and they're being ambushed.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
But you even made commercials for the president recently. Talk about that.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. And what we did, I had an idea. I said, I wanted to bring all these Democrats in that were flipping, okay? Some of them lifelong Democrats, and I didn't want to meet them ahead of time. I wanted to be very organic like my pillow ads are. And I wanted to be the host and ask them, well, why are you flipping? And it was so powerful when these come out. Some of the reasons, one of the common things that you just mentioned before was that we had talked about. So many of them said, what I thought the Democratic Party was, where they always made promises for family values and to help people. I started looking back and going, it never came to fruition after they got elected. But with this great president, he did what the Democrats said they were going to do. And a lot of them said, I don't even, maybe they had something they didn't like the president for something or other, but they're going, you know what? I like what he's done. And therefore, I'm switching. I'm voting. One guy, he had never voted Republican in his life. And
I read to you from the New England Journal of Medicine, the most prestigious medical journal in America, published May 21st, Universal Masking in Hospitals in the COVID-19 era, that they're essentially worthless. Okay? So what happens? They're clearly under pressure because science has been ruined or it's being ruined, not yet fully ruined, by the left. For reasons that I'm not fully certain, they have this commitment to masks. The left. It's not science-based, it's just, I don't know if there's a psychological component, an ideological component. By the way, there's an ideological component to my opposition to it. I admit it. I think it dehumanizes people, and there's a very serious price paid in society. I think it is sick that 3-year-olds have to wear one going on a plane. They're not sick. They don't get sick. They don't transmit it. And if they transmit it, no one should be on a plane because all of us can eat without a mask. I have flown about 6 times in the last couple of months. And I'm totally at peace going on an airplane, but you should just know you are 1 inch away from a person without a mask in the most confined area possible, an airplane. This is okay. But you can't be 6 feet away in a restaurant. I've never heard an answer to that challenge because nothing on the left is based on reason in any event. When I saw the president and Newsom sitting together, him without a mask and Newsom with a mask, Newsom looked like a fool to me because he is a fool. He's a dangerous villain in what he is, the destruction of people's lives that Newsom has engaged in. Few Americans in history have hurt so many people as Gavin Newsom has hurt people in California. It's hard for me to imagine many American names. So I admit there's an ideological aspect, but if it was really science, then I would still be pro-mask. But I read to you the science, so listen to this. So the authors were pressured. So listen, they wrote a letter to the editor later. Here's what they write. We understand that some people are citing our perspective article published on April 1st at Nejum. I gave the May, what did I give a May? The May date is on the thing. It's called April 1st, fine. As support for discrediting widespread masking. In truth, the intent of our article was to push for more masking, not less. There's no truth to that statement. But these people don't want to be attacked by the left. So they made up. Oh, and are you kidding? The fact that we said it's worthless was our way of pushing for widespread use. We're back to, are you going to believe your eyes? It is apparent that many people with SARS-CoV-2 infection are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, yet highly contagious. By the way, I don't know that that's true. I follow this stuff more than most doctors do. There's no doubt in my mind about that, having spoken to doctors on this radio show. I don't know if the asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic are highly contagious. I don't know. They might be. Nobody knows. Fine. So I don't know why they're stating that. And that these people account for a substantial fraction of all transmissions, making masking helps, universal masking helps to prevent such people from spreading virus-laden secretions, whether they recognize that they are infected or not. Now, but of course, the article said that it's worthless. So they deal with that. We did state in the article that, quote, wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. But as the rest of the paragraph makes clear, I read to you the rest of the paragraph. We intended this statement to apply to passing encounters in public spaces, not sustained interaction within closed environments. Okay. Well, first of all, that's a big deal. Why are people having to wear it outside when they don't have sustained interaction in closed environments? Why is anybody wearing a mask outside? Hello? They have just admitted, even in their letter, it's useless. But the human price is unbelievable. A faceless society is not a healthy society. Americans were known for openness and friendliness. You are less friendly. Ask flight attendants what facelessness has done to the interactions of passengers with flight attendants. In Michigan last week, was it last week? God, yeah, it's amazing. In Michigan last week, a flight attendant for Delta, obviously I won't say her name, a young flight attendant, I think she was late 20s, came to a fundraiser for Prager all the way from Atlanta, where she's based, which is one of the hubs of Delta, the biggest hub. And she mentioned in passing how for the first time in her experience, passengers curse her. When people are anonymous, they act much worse. Look at the internet. Look at how people are despicable under phony names. The left is deaf, dumb, and blind to the human destruction of their policies. I am quoting the New England Journal of Medicine again to tell you masks outside are worthless. That's what the doctors wrote. They have not retracted it.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Senator, here's Joe Biden yesterday talking about fracking, cut number 3.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
Now, he is for fracking after he was against it, Senator Cotton. I've played a number of montages where he's been against fracking, new fracking, old fracking, fossil fuels. How in the world can people ignore this?
Well, Hugh, let's give Joe the benefit of the doubt, and let's not assume that he's lying. Let's just assume that he forgot when he said that he was going to ban fracking repeatedly during the Democratic primaries.
He did. I mean, he did. Okay, translate this if you can. Cut number 2.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Okay, Senator, what's that mean?
Well, Hugh, that wasn't the smoothest delivery of a pre-written speech on a teleprompter, but I'm not sure I can translate it for you.
All right, then he asked the rhetorical question, cut number 1.
Ask yourself, do I look like a radical socialist with a soft spot for rioters? Really?
My answer is yes, because on one side you've got Kamala Harris, and on the other side you've got AOC, but what do you say, Senator?
Well, he looks like an empty suit that for 50 years has gone along with whatever fad and fashion is ascendant in the Democratic Party.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Joanne is in Chicago. Joanne, you're on with Dr. Strom and Larry.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. My question is that if you've had COVID and after your doctor releases you to go back to work and you take another test because your company requires it and you test positive, will you always test positive or will you eventually test negative?
That's a great question. So you can test positive for a while, even though after 14 days and the test is still positive, probably you're not as virulent or contagious. Now, that test may stay positive for a while, and there's a real debate in the medical community. Did you never eradicate, or is it a reinfection? There were studies out in Asia about reinfection, and we're all skeptical about that. So it's probably you didn't eradicate yourself totally from the COVID, and it's ultimately going to go.
All right. Okay, everybody. Dennis Prager here, Greenwood, South Carolina. John. Hello, John.
Dennis, you know that I love you probably more than I love my own uncle. I really do. And I love virtually every word you say. But you and I have a serious area of disagreement here over masks. And I challenge your whole position. In fact, I think that you're so far out on the limb of absurdity that you're tap dancing on twigs. And your argument is more full of holes than a sieve. I mean, it's just
So I'm just curious. Did you hear what I read from the New England Journal of Medicine?
I did, and you're taking, Dennis, you're taking one source of information, one biased source of information,
the New England
and you're
Journal,
forming your whole premise on that.
That's correct. Why is it biased?
Ridiculous.
Why is it biased?
because it doesn't take in the totality of anything, Dennis, and you know better than that.
Wait. So the New England, so the New England Journal of Medicine is now a right-wing journal in your view?
No, they're not. They're a left-wing view. They're left-wing.
So what? So how do you wait? So how do you know?
To a left-wing publication for support of your argument, and that just defies everything that you stand for, Dennis.
Okay. Wait. Okay. I'll leave it at that. I love you too. I like that tap dancing on twigs. Is that a South Carolina saying? I'm trying to imagine it. What is the, I guess you can't tap dance on twigs because you would slip. Yeah, I get it. It's good. Folks, you are free to say that the doctors who wrote this article are wrong. On social grounds, I admit to you, I am Mr. Transparent. I loathe masks. However, I prefer to save lives than even loathe masks. But if I read in a journal that is not known for any conservative position by a bunch of medical doctors that they're worthless outside, and I read it to you, including their letter afterwards, what am I supposed to conclude? When I see people where I live walking alone with a mask outdoors, I think that people are so easily frightened into absurdity that I want to cry. That's my reaction to a person walking or with a friend.
Walking billboards of institutionalized fear.
Walking billboards of institutionalized fear. Is that your terminology? Heather McDonald. All right, a reminder, everybody, that hundreds of thousands of people watch my Passover Seder. Jews, non-Jews, Christians, atheists. And now, that was an hour and a half. I have 16 hours in 4K up for the high holidays starting tomorrow night. Go to the banner at my website, High Holidays.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me ask you very quickly about Senator Harris. I think when she threw doubt on the vaccine, she did a terrible disservice to America. Everybody's got to be on the same page when a vaccine is approved, that people who are in risk groups take it. What were you shocked that she actually threw doubt? Because that's going to make it much more difficult to get people to become vaccinated.
It's very disappointing to see Senator Harris throw in with the anti-vaccine crowd. Look, the world's leading scientists and researchers are all racing to try to find a safe and effective vaccine for the coronavirus. And I am 100% confident that those world-class scientists and researchers, along with our public health agencies, will only put on the market a vaccine that is safe and effective.
Have you talked to Senator Harris yet about throwing in with the anti-vaxxers?
I have not. I've not been on her short call list over these last couple of days, Hugh, if you can imagine it. When she was up instead in Wisconsin, visiting a state that Democrats have generally stayed away from for the last 4 years, like Hillary Clinton did.
She will deny that she's thrown in with the anti-vaxxers, I'm sure, but I don't believe that's an inaccurate statement, Senator.
Well, it's not an inaccurate statement at all, Hugh. I mean, she has expressed doubt and skepticism about a vaccine that doesn't yet exist. And we don't know when it might exist, but when it does exist, it will be safe and effective because it will have gone through rigorous testing and trials.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Then people know you from every now and again. I see you on these TV commercials. Are you still doing those?
Absolutely.
You crack me up. But we both involved in a film called Trump 2024. It's really a documentary, and there's all kinds of people involved in it. I should say to folks, if you go to salemnow.com and use the code Eric, you get a discount, salemnow.com. But why did you get involved in this documentary, Mike Lindell, Trump 2024?
Well, when I first met him, I met him in the summer of 2016 in a private half-hour meeting. He invited me out to talk with him about, my pillow being made in the USA. But all these things he talked about, I'm going, there are a couple of things people need to know about our president. The gift he has of being so pragmatic and problem solution like a businessman, but knowing what it's going to manifest to. What is it, just because you solve the problem and have the solution, you better know what's it going to manifest to in our daily lives. And that's a gift that he has. And that's having a businessman run it. He took the Republican Party, and I believe now has turned it into the Common Sense Party. That's not the party it was either. He took politics and just put it all in a thing and smashed it around and said, okay, here's the way we should do things for the people. This is for the people.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
I know not to trust standard media outlets, but to whom am I supposed to turn? How do I know who to trust? Where can I go for real information?
Great question. Dr. Strom, who do you rely on for your information?
Okay, so what I really like, and I think it's pretty accurate, is the Johns Hopkins newsletter.
Right.
It comes out every 4 to 5 days. I think that information is very accurate. That's where I get most of my information from. Listening to television, you're going to get skewed data. So that's what I said in my opening segment. I'm not so sure about the numbers. I don't know if the numbers they're telling us are too low or too high. I just don't know yet. And I think it's very hard to know. And you have a very valid point. I think a lot of people feel like you.
And Doctor, when we're talking about countries like China, like Cuba, like North Korea, how in the world can we trust their numbers? I keep hearing that we, America, have more people in prison than any other country on the face of the earth per capita, blah, blah, blah. You think Cuba and China and North Korea are accurately reporting who they have behind bars? Please.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Larry. I share that skepticism. I don't know if you can believe that. I do remember at the beginning of the pandemic looking at the hot spots, and I saw Russia didn't have any cases.
Yeah.
So,
Zero
and
in the whole
obviously
country.
now they have them. But I will tell you, they touted their vaccination. They got the Russian vaccination. But I will tell you, as a doctor and a scientist, that was only phase 2, so it didn't go the complete route of evaluation. So it's hard to believe. It's hard to know.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
This is America in the 2020 year of our Lord. Anti-police protesters appeared. And people celebrated that attack, yelling things like, "We hope they die." This in a year when more than 30 officers have been killed in the line of duty in the United States. To which, and this is pathetic, I don't care who you are, but for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to tweet out early Sunday the following. #Compton. Oh, and then they put it in capital letters. How brave of them. "Do not block emergency entries and exits to the hospital." You're the Sheriff's Department. You've got demonstrators saying, "Hope they die," outside the hospital, and
Hello, my friends. I'm Dennis Prager. I have one of my favorite people in the world on the line, Candace Owens. I am not alone in saying she's one of my favorite people. I suspect that many millions would say the same thing. Candace Owens has one of the most widely viewed podcasts in America, and I'm sure around the world. Its platform is at PragerU. She is founder of Blexit, the Black Exit from the Democratic Party. Her book is the second best-selling book in America today. It should be the first, but the question is, do people hate Donald Trump enough to keep Bob Woodward's book as number one? Candace Owens' book is Blackout: How Black America Can Make Its Second Escape from the Democrat Plantation. Candace, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Are you surprised at the reception of your book?
Yes. I mean, I honestly, it has been a dream of mine to be a published author, and I would have never thought that within the first week, Amazon would sell out of 90,000 copies. I can't wait to get the update today on what the numbers are. I mean, I'm just over the moon and completely thrilled and so grateful to everyone.
Well, you deserve it. It's a pleasure. I mean, when I see Peter Strzok's book is on one of the top 10, it depresses me about what people think is important to read. But your book is important to read. Your take on George Floyd was very courageous. That's obviously the thing that I think most of us appreciate. Well, your intelligence doesn't hurt.
But funny story about that. My book almost got pulled because of the George Floyd thing. So there was actually a huge fight with Simon & Schuster. They no longer wanted to publish my book. I found this out the end of July, 2 weeks before publication, because they disagreed with my perspective on George Floyd. So it was an absolute dogfight until they sort of conceded. And I was like, if you cancel this book because I'm not getting in line with how you think a Black American needs to think, we're going to have really big issues. So people don't know what goes on behind the scenes and how much of a fight it is. I mean, I fought for my title. They thought Democrat Plantation was too aggressive. So every step of the way, this has been just a tremendous battle on the back end. And I feel that that's what it's like to be a Black conservative today, because people have such a tight idea of what you need to be and what you need to think if you are a Black person. And I've always been pushing back against those boundaries.
Why, this is not meant rhetorically, why is it not racist to assume that Blacks must think in a certain way?
It is racist, and that's exactly what I said to Simon & Schuster. I said the irony, at the time, this was like the George Floyd stuff happened, and they had sort of gotten in line. You guys are getting a real inside track here. I've never told the story. But they had gotten in line and hired a new Black publisher, like every other corporation did, to be the head publisher. And I was told that as soon as she got to her first day of work, she announced, I'm going to change things up, and Simon & Schuster is going to approach race in the right